Hari Om. So in this third chapter, which is Karma Yoga, where Bhagavan tells us to dedicate all activities to society, to the higher. Are you able to read the board? You're able to see the board? Yeah, okay. So before the Christmas break, he had talked about everybody has to work. You cannot stay without action. So how do we act in the world? But Arjuna was trying to run away from the battle and sit in the forest to meditate. And Bhagavan is trying to tell him that he is not yet ready for this. And he has to purify his mind with Karma Yoga and with the right knowledge before he can take up the path of meditation. Right now, his duty is to the country, to the community, and to Dharma. That is his duty right now. And Bhagavan talked about two kinds of people. One who runs away from the world, withdraws, but his mind is still engaged so much in the world. And he always has this desire. He has taken sannyas, but his desire for worldly pleasures is not gone. And so externally, he may have taken sannyas, but internally, he's still very attached to the world. So Bhagavan calls him mithyachara, hypocrite. And then in the other shloka after that, Bhagavan says that how should we do this? So he says, withdraw your mind from the senses, control the senses in the mind, let it not run out into the world of objects too much. And that energy that you save, conserve by not getting the mind too much active into the world, use that energy for Karma Yoga. Work in the world with the attitude of, not with the attitude of I, me, and my, but how can I serve the world with my actions, which is Karma Yoga, and dedicating all activities to Bhagavan and working for the higher without ego, and that purifies the mind, and the mind that is pure, that means it reduces the vasanas. As the mind is got taken away from the world and transferred to Bhagwan, it reduces my vasanas. And such a mind is then ready for meditation, ready for the higher path. So Karma Yoga is a preparatory to sannyas and also is very beneficial in our spiritual journey. Bhagwan today will tell us about the different kinds of karmas. We think karma is one, but there are different kinds of karmas. And we'll introduce this topic of yagna spirit. What is yagna spirit? So that's what we will study today. So chapter 3, shloka number 8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam.
Niyatam kuru karma tvam.
Karmajayo hya karmanaha.
Karmajayo prakarmana.
Sharira yatra pichate.
Sharira yatra pijate.
Na prasidyeda karmanaha.
Na prasidyeda karmana.
Together. Niyatam kuru karma tvam. Karmajayo hya karmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Na prasidyeda karmanaha. So Bhagavan says, what should you do? Do niyatam karma. Niyatam karma means obligatory duties. And we'll explain what they are. So niyatam kuru karma tvam. So you should do your essential duties, your obligatory duties, your kartavya karma. Kartavya karma, what you should do. Why? Because karma jayo hi karma nahat. Karma is jayo means is superior to indeed he to akarmana. So action is superior to inaction. Because that's what Arjuna thought. I will sit in the forest and I don't have to do this horrible action of the war. But Bhagavan says your mind, even in the forest, will be thinking about Duryodhana and Karna and why didn't I do it? And you will think, society might be suffering. I had enough. So all those things will happen. So action is superior to inaction in your case. And Bhagavan says, Sharira Yatra Pichate, even Sharira Yatra, even the journey of this body, even the bodily activities, they of yours, na prasiddhyet akarmana. Even maintenance of the body will not happen, is not possible without a karma. So let us see what is the four kinds of karmas which are here on the board. And I think those who are on the WhatsApp, it is there in your WhatsApp. We have posted a picture of that. So there are four kinds of actions: nitya, naimitya, kamya, and nishiddha. So nitya karma is daily activities that we all do. You get up in the morning, wash your face, brush your teeth, have a shower, have breakfast, go to work or start your daily work, whatever your daily activities are. And it can be for a housewife, it can be taking care of the home and the family. For a person who is working outside the house, it could be their job, whatever they do to earn a living. Those are all daily duties, nitya karma. And then what is naimitya karma? Naimitya karma is special activities. So I'm doing my daily activities, but then I get a news that somebody is sick in the hospital, a friend, or I go visit them. That is a special duty. Or it's Thanksgiving and the whole family is getting together. So we fly to a different city. That is naimitya. Or somebody passed away, some near and dear one. So you go attend the funeral, or a child is born. So these are naimitya activities. And special activities can add to our daily activities, like a child, in the Hindu faith. It used to be done, it's not done that often anymore, but they do the Janeu ceremony, where the child is now officially brought into the Sanatan Dharma fold. Then from that day on, the child has other nitya karmas. He has to do Sandhya Vandana, he has to do Gayatri Mantra, he has or like I start a new factory, a new project, that's a naimitya karma. But then my nitya karma becomes to take care of that factory, to take care of the business. So naimitya and nitya are obligatory duties, and they should be done with an attitude of karma yoga, surrender to the Lord. Then there are kamya karmas. Kamya karma means desire prompted activities. To some extent, they can become selfish activities. So it does not mean that one should not do anything with desire, but my desire prompted activities, my selfish activities should be reduced. I should do as less as possible for me, myself, but do activities for everybody, it could be even including my family or my society or my community. So that is kamya karma, should be reduced. And the fourth is nishiddha karma. Nishiddha karma are forbidden activities. And all religions say that, uh, Nishiddha karma should be avoided, must not be, cannot be done. So even in the Bible, we have the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt. In the Buddhist faith, in Jainism, in Hinduism, there are all these Nishiddha karma that they should not be done. And in the family also, we find that when a person does activities reducing selfishness and not doing forbidden activities and doing his niyatam karma. Niyatam is nitya plus naimitya. Together, nitya plus naimitya is niyatam, which Bhagavan mentions. That means the obligatory duties, when they are done with an attitude of surrender to Bhagavan, unselfishly, without I, me, and my, then the whole family progresses, and each family member has certain duties based upon their station. So the husband, say in the traditional family, has a duty to go out to work, earn, bring, money, and then for maintenance of the family. The lady in the traditional family would be a housewife. But we see that the woman's job is the hardest because her whole life is dedicated to doing for others, taking care of the children, even from the time they are born, even in the womb, and then when they are born, and then in the school and everywhere, getting them ready. So she sacrifices, even in cooking, she doesn't think what I like, but what my children will like or what the family will like. So her whole life is a life of sacrifice. In fact, even from the day she gets married, in the traditional thinking, she changes her last name. In some families, even the wife is given a new first name when she arrives, and she's told by her mother, now you have to dedicate your life to this not adopted, but the family that you have married into. So we see her life is full of sacrifice and giving and constant. That's why for women to go on the spiritual path is easier than for men because they have less ego. And then, of course, the children have their own duties. They have to study, they have to help in the household chores, and they should be assigned, duty. So throughout the family, we find that these activities go on for the higher, for the totality. And Arjuna, we already mentioned, he was not ready for. So Bhagavan says, do your nitya karma, your obligatory duties. And here now the naimitya karma has come. There is this war which you have to fight for the benefit of all. And similarly, in an election, our duty to vote, that is a naimitya karma. Okay, it is every 4 years I must vote. And then the person we elect, it is his nitya karma to then for the next 4 years take care of society, not just make himself powerful or rich. So that's what Bhagavan says, that even your daily activities, you have to get up in the morning, brush, wash, take a bath, have breakfast, change your clothes. So even maintenance of the body, you have to do this nitya and naimitya karma. So exercise, keeping the body healthy, eating right. So Bhagavan says that is your obligatory duty. You must do it. Now in the 9th, 10th, and 11th, and also for the couple more after that, several shlokas, Bhagavan is talking about how to work with the yagna spirit. And what is the meaning of yagna, we'll talk about. So shloka number 9. Yajnarthat karmanonyatra
यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणो
lokoyam karma bandhanaha
लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः
Tadartham karma kaunteya.
Tadartham karma kaunteya.
Mukta sanga samachara.
Mukta sanga samachara.
Together. Yajnarthat karmanonyatra. Lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Tadartham karma kaunteya. Mukta sanga samachara. Yajnarthat. For the purpose of yajna, karmana should be done. So what is yajna? We understand yajna as, the priest lights a fire and the householders sit around and then they put offerings in the fire. So here Bhagavan says karmas done should be done for yajna spirit. So what is this yajna? And why is Arjuna being told in the middle of the battle, when the battle is about to start, that he now do yajna? Does that mean that he has to find a priest and light a fire? Why is Bhagavan telling him and telling all of us? Aside from doing activities in this yajna spirit, anyatra, besides that, lokaha, ayam lokaha, in this world, it is karma bandhanaha. So activities not done with the yajna spirit will lead to bondage. And tadartham, therefore, for that purpose, karma, action, Kaunteya, Kunti's son, again he reminds Arjuna that you come from a very noble heritage. Your mother was a very noble soul. So, O Arjuna, how should you do actions? Mukta Sangha, without attachment. Sama Achara, Samyak Achara. You should do your actions very well. You're not saying run away from actions. Every action you do it well. You see, if I start something, I should do it 100%, otherwise don't do it. If you resolve that this is what I'm going to do, then I should put all my effort in doing it. Not do anything half-heartedly, because success will not come. So action, either 100% or don't do it. That's all great men, we learn from their lives, how they dedicate themselves to action. So he says, Sama Achara, Samyak Achara. Do your actions very well. So what is the yajna spirit? Why is Bhagavan telling Arjuna to work with yajna spirit? One yajna, as we mentioned, is offering in the fire. But here, yajna means sacrificing not in the fire, but any action that I do for the higher, for the totality, for society. Just as in a yagna, traditional yagna in the village, everybody used to get together and somebody will bring wood, somebody will make the havan kunda, somebody will bring milk or, all the other offerings, bring food for everybody, clean the place, all those things. So together the yagna is done, and the yagna is done many times for the benefit of the entire village, say, or that entire community. Say there is no rain, then they do yagna for rain. Or if there is a lot of conflict, we do yagna for peace. So any activity where the community gets together and does a particular action for the benefit of all. And it can be a yagna, it can be building a hospital. The community doesn't have a hospital or an orphanage or a nursing home or a senior's home. So any activity where I sink my individual differences and work with all others for the benefit of society is yagna. And that is a beautiful new meaning given by Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Bhagavan Ved Vyasji to the traditional word yagna. So that's the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. It was a very revolutionary text. Lot of traditional concepts were given a new meaning so that it becomes applicable. So for us, that makes a lot more sense because we don't hardly ever do yagna, maybe rarely. But our daily activities, when we dedicate it to and we sacrifice our individual benefit for the benefit of all. That is yagna spirit. So he says, do activities with that, otherwise it is karma bandhana. We find even in history, when the society works together for the benefit, then that community progresses. Like the Roman Empire, at one time they were all working for growth of the Roman Empire, for it to get better. And it was growing, it was flourishing. And then it came a time when everybody became selfish. They said, oh, we have earned enough money from conquering other lands, so let us enjoy. So they used to have parties, drinking, all this constantly, and they neglected the protection of the city, Rome. And slowly the other invaders attacked, and Roman Empire was completely destroyed. So when the community, and it can be in the modern age, if we find that in a society, if everybody is selfish, then the society will not flourish. But when people work individually, either in the family, in the community, in nation, or for the whole world, then such a person progresses, such a society progresses. And if I only do activities for me, myself, that becomes sangha, that becomes attachment. I'm doing for me, myself, and that becomes bondage, where now I have to work for myself and I do not work for society. And that is, we have talked many times about working without attachment, without I and I want. And people say work is worship. Some people use the term work should be worship. So who should be worship? Worship should be to the higher, as we said, to the society, to the community, to the nation, that we say Bharat Mata, India is my mother, or here we say we do all activities for the United States of America. So any such activity done for the higher, where I, me, and my is sunk, that becomes sacrifice. And the highest, of course, is to Bhagwan himself. That's why they say Yajna Vai Vishnu. Yajna is Vishnu. What does Vishnu mean? Vishnu, of course, is that supreme reality that is all pervading. Vishnu means all pervading Brahman, that total reality, which is personified as Bhagavan Vishnu, who is in Vaikuntha, but he represents the totality. So when I highest sacrifices, I do all activities for God. I constantly remember God. I'm grateful to God for giving me the ability, and I dedicate all actions to the Lord. So that is an offering. So as we said, one offering is, somebody asks me for a pen or for a book. I give that book, that is offering. But here, mentally, my thoughts, my actions are all dedicated to the higher. And that gives the community more strength to grow, to prosper. So power comes from when people work together. But when people are split, I'm doing my thing, you are doing your thing, I don't care what you do, as long as I do well, that is my whole idea. Then such activities done just with I, me, and my, where I really do not care what happens to the community. Unfortunately, we see more and more of that happening. There is so much selfishness, there is so much conflict, and it can be among individuals, it can be even among nations. So like two nations are there, they could be fighting, or one nation has extra food, another nation has extra oil. So instead of attacking, one attack the other to get oil, or no, we said, let's together work. You send your oil to us, we send the food. And then, balance that. So what happens? Both the nations are progressing. So the same activity can be a yagna spirit between different communities. So yagna does not, so what Bhagwan is giving us a very new definition. of what yajna is, because this is such a mind-boggling thought that how the wisdom of Bhagwan and then Ved Vyasji, who has put that in the poetry form, that our every activity can be channeled to the higher. This morning in our meditation class, we talked about how even meditation can become a yajna, where my physical, mental, intellectual activities and all the sense impulses I am offering to the self, in the fire of the self. When I offer all my activities in that self, then my meditation becomes a yajna, an offering in that fire, and keep my mind and my physical activities all stationed in that self. So inside and outside, there is a constant yajna going on. And that's what Bhagwan says. If you do that, it is good for you. If you don't do it, you will get bondage. So work without attachment. Now Bhagwan is talking about the totality, the entire universe, and how the universe was created. Who is this, to whom we are offering, and why are we offering? Very, very nice two shlokas. So we'll do number 10. Saha yajñah praja srishtva
सह यज्ञः प्रजा सृष्ट्वा
पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः
पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः
अनेन प्रसविष्यध्वम्
अनेन सवित्वम्
केशवोस्त्विष्टकामधुक्
केशवोऽस्त्विष्टवकामधुक्
सह यज्ञाः प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसविष्यध्वम् एषवोस्त्विष्टकामधुक्. So he's talking about Prajapati, the creator of this universe, Brahmaji, the creator of this universe. How did he create this universe? Saha yajna, with yajna, praja srishtva, having created praja. Praja means all beings, animals, birds, plants, fish, humans. Having created this entire universe with animate and inanimate objects, Pura, in the beginning, Uvacha Prajapati. Prajapati spoke in the beginning. Prajapati means Brahmaji, the creator, said in the beginning, having created this whole universe with Yagna spirit. And what does Prajapati tell us? Anena. Anena means by this. So by this means by the Yagna spirit, which Bhagavan has mentioned. Anena prasavishyadvam. May you grow with this Yagna spirit. Anena, by this Yagna spirit, prasavishyadvam. Oh, all of you may grow. So the Creator tells us that when He created the universe, He created the spirit of Yagna, which means the spirit of sacrifice, where I sacrifice my selfish needs for the benefit of all. And what will happen when I work with that Yagna spirit? Then what will happen? Esha Vaha, this for you, may it be what? Ishta Kama Dukha. Ishta means whatever you desire. Kama Dukha, Kama Dhenu is a mythical cow in our Puranas. It is said that sage Vasisht had this cow called Kamadhenu. And the cow was such that when you approach her, you can get all your wishes fulfilled. So it's called a wish-fulfilling cow, just as there is also a wish-fulfilling tree, Parijata. So same way, a wish-fulfilling cow is Kamadhenu. So what it means is that when you do activities with the Yagna spirit, Prajapati says, you will get whatever you desire. Whatever the community needs will be given to us. So as we said, Prajapati is the creator, and it is said he also did yajna. He actually did a formal yajna before starting creation. And again, the creator's job, he's not creating the universe for himself. He's creating for all of us. So the whole universe, even before man came or before beings came, the universe was created, was made ready. The sun is giving uh, heat and light, the rain was falling, the rivers were flowing, the earth was made nutritious. So Prajapati made sure that all the elements, all the nature, all the power was geared towards creating new things. So then life was introduced after that. First, he prepared everything, and then he introduced, the animals, birds, plants, fish, humans, all upward created after this. So we find that throughout everywhere in nature, they're all working for us. The sun gives light, doesn't ask for anything in return. The rain falls, the rivers flow, the earth is giving us so much without asking for anything in return. And so that is the yagna spirit. And that's what he says, that let your actions also be for the yagna spirit, where I work without I, me, and my, work for the benefit of all. And when that happens, then society can create everything, as we had said earlier also today, that when people are fighting, I want, I want, I want, then the community will fall apart. But when all get together and work for the higher, work for the entire community, then there is nothing which is impossible. See, when everybody is working together, whatever you want, you can create. So that is Kamadhenu. It is not that from somewhere you find a cow and bring it. Kamadhenu is symbolic of people working together to get whatever they want. And any progress in society can only happen when there is a yagna spirit. As I said, when you want to build a new hospital, a new factory, or people have to work together for, rivers are just going into the ocean. The people get together and build a dam. It is a millions of dollars worth of work. But then with that dam, you can channel the water that was being wasted into the ocean towards the cities and towns and for irrigation and agriculture. So any such activity, when it is done for the totality, then such an action purifies the individual and is for the benefit. So that is the yagna spirit in shloka number 10. Even the body, think about it, even the body works together in a yagna spirit. The digestive system doesn't think, I have eaten the food, I have digested, I'm going to keep it. Why should I share it with her? It's mine. No. Instantly, the food is so samana digests the food, and then the vyana, the circulatory system, immediately. Circulatory system, heart doesn't say, all night, I'm day and night, I'm pumping, pumping, pumping. Nobody appreciates, nobody. No, it's my duty. I'm working for the benefit. So the eyes, when you are walking and there is a ditch, the eyes will tell, watch out, there is a ditch, so that the feet may not fall and get hurt, or the body may. So every part of the body is working with the yagna spirit, and that is why the body prospers and the body does well. Gurudev in his commentary talks about what is this Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu, he says, is the potential prophet. That's a beautiful term Gurudev gives in his commentary. When you have time later on, please read Gurudev's commentary on this shloka, where he says that when we get together and put effort, there is a potential in that, whatever that effort we are doing, productive potential. So for example, there is some land, empty land. So people say, let's get together and farm it. So they have a communal farm, or even if there's an individual, he gets workers. So they all work, and they work with the idea that we should grow something. So they plant the seed, put fertilizer, till the land, and work hard in the heat. And then slowly the land, what is its productive potential? The crop. Say you want to grow wheat or cotton or rice. The land, Mother Earth gives us that. So that is the productive potential of the land. So when effort is put, then whatever that situation is will give us what we need. And that's what they say, that whatever you need, you can get, but you have to work. And again, the earth is working with her, with the communal spirit. She's not saying it's my, food, I grew it. No, the earth very unselfishly gives towards others without holding anything back. And the earth doesn't say, and whether we appreciate the earth or not. And in the next shloka, we'll talk about what happens when you use the land properly. So we'll talk about that in the next shloka. How even Mother Earth is constantly blessing us, but it is our duty to give back to the Mother Earth. And so that we will talk about in the next shloka. So prosperity can only happen when everyone works together. Cooperation is very, very important, and that is how all societies succeed. And that's what Bhagwan says, that Prajapati told us, the Creator told us, that I have given you this beautiful earth, this beautiful universe that is serving you. Now it is your duty to serve others with what you have obtained. That's why that's why Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji says, all the talents, whatever God has given you, is His gift to you. What you do with what you have is your gift to Him. So God has given us everything, the ability to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, feel, ability to work, but walk, talk, but it is our duty to serve Him. Now, God doesn't need service. How do we serve God? So in Raman Maharishi Ji says, Jagat Ishadi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhre Deva Pujanam. So what is worship of God? One is, of course, we go to the temple or puja room and pray. But more important, how you worship God is not only doing that. That, of course, is necessary. But see the whole world as God. Ashtamurti Bhre. They say God has 8 forms. Not God, but this universe, everything has 8 forms. Air, space, fire, water, earth. 5 elements, mind, intellect, ego. So all of us are made of Ashtamurti Bhre. Ashtamurti, space, air, fire, water, earth, mind, intellect, ego. So here in this case, body is the 5 elements, the mind and the intellect. So together, this, and not only me, but everybody is of that Ashtamurti, everybody. So when I serve an individual, seeing God in him, that is worship of God. Worship of God is not only offering in the prayer or in the puja room or in the temple, but every action of mine should become worship. That's what we said. Work should become worship. And that can only happen when I see God in everybody, when I serve everybody as a service of God, and think I, me, and my. That's why we said kamya karma, selfish activity should be reduced, and our obligatory activities should be done. So that then only the community will prosper, and that will become your wish fulfilling cow. You will get what you want. Beautiful shloka. See in Bhagavad Gita how beautifully Bhagwan has transformed all the traditional concepts into very practical. ideas for us. That's why Bhagavad Gita is so practical, even though it has the highest knowledge of the Upanishads, but also tells us how to bring this knowledge into our day-to-day life and how to improve our life. And so Bhagavan speaking through Arjuna is talking to all of us. So every word in the Bhagavad Gita applies to me. And we should see how I can apply this Bhagavad Gita to make my life better and to make community around me better. So shloka number 10. Now we'll do the last one today, chapter 3, shloka number 11. Devan bhavayatanena
Devan bhavayatanena
te deva bhavayantu vaha
te deva bhavayantu vaha
परस्परं भावयन्तः
परस्परं भावयन्तः
श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यथ
श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यय
देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः paramavapsyata. So Bhagavan says Deva. Deva means the gods, gods in heaven, but not, it does not limit itself to that, but the traditional meaning Deva means the gods in heaven, or the god of like thunder, Indra, or the god of rain, and then the god of water is Varuna, the god of air is, Pavan Devta, like that, all the different gods that give us, because these are powers that are running the celestial forces or are responsible for maintenance of the universe. The Supreme Lord, of course, created the universe through Brahmaji and then appointed these different powers to run the universe, just as the president is elected and then he appoints the defense secretary and education and finance and business and so on. So here, these powers have been appointed by Supreme Lord Brahman, the creator, to run the universe. So Devan Bhavayata Anena. So it says that Anena, again, Anena means by this Yagna spirit, Bhavayata means you nourish the Devas. You worship the Devas, you nourish the Devas by this Yagna spirit. And then Te Deva, and those gods in return will nourish you. So you nourish the Devas and the Devas will nourish you. So how am I going to nourish the Devas? We'll talk about that. And then Parasparam Bhavayantaha, when together you and the celestial forces work in harmony, Shreyaha, Parama Shreya, the supreme good, Avapsyatha, you will get the supreme good. So supreme good to get, you have to work in not only in harmony with each other, but in harmony with nature, with the celestial forces. So one way of nourishing devas used to be in the traditional way was, they used to do yagnas dedicated to Varun Devta, Indra Devta, make offerings, put in the fire. And it is said when those are done, the devas are nourished. And in return, they nourish you. But limiting devas to those celestial forces is a very small concept. So it is said devas means the natural forces. So how do I nourish the natural forces like water now? Varuna, water is a natural. By not polluting water. See what we have done with our rivers, we have polluted them. So you are not nourishing the natural forces. Air, we need air to breathe. And so much pollution we put in the air, constantly factories are emitting without caring about how the atmosphere is being, the global warming, we are seeing the consequences, hurricanes now, there is terrible snow and, floods and all that happening. So when you don't nourish nature, then the nature, will suffer, and in the consequences, we will suffer. Our land, our land, there is a beautiful story of King Prithu. It is mentioned in our Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavad. So there was a very famous king called King Prithu. Before King Prithu arrived on the scene, before he got his kingdom, before he grew up, the earth was held by different kings in small, small portions. This is mine. And they used to exploit the earth and exploit the atmosphere and the water, and they wouldn't care about earth. They wouldn't care about. And overplanting, how do you nourish the earth? Some people overplant. If you plant too much and then you deplete the earth of all its natural, resources, then the earth becomes unproductive. So the sensible way is to do segmental planting. Okay, in my farm, maybe 3 quarters I'll plant, 1 quarter I'll leave empty. The next time, different quarter in next crop. So that way allow the earth to grow itself, to replenish itself. But these people were not doing that. They were just exploiting, and the earth stopped giving them. The crops were bad. There was famine. There was, so much, again, conflict. I want my land, your land. So Prithu came. He was a very wise, visionary king. And he said, that's not the way. Let us respect and nourish Mother Earth and plant intelligently and give back. Put some nutrients in the soil, put some, healthy, things to nourish the earth. And when people started listening to him, the whole country prospered. Everybody was doing very well. And the whole earth was very happy. The atmosphere, he said, let us. So he was a visionary. That many thousands of years ago, he could see that the environmental, what we are talking these days about environment, he could foresee that thousands of years ago. So that's why the Prithvi is called Prithvi, because she is the daughter of Prithu. See, that's how Prithvi got its name, King Prithu. So let us see how beautifully this wise king was able to bring the yagna spirit with his visionary thinking. So that's what they say. Nature will give you if you nourish nature. If you exploit nature and pollute nature, you will not get it. We have to do, each one has to do our part, not driving unnecessarily, solar heating, doing things that are energy efficient. And there is a difference between sacrifice and compromise. So we say one should sacrifice. Sacrifice means when I give up my individual needs for the benefit of the totality. That is sacrifice. I sacrifice my personal selfish need for the benefit of others, for the benefit of totality. And as I mentioned, other can be the family. I sacrifice for my family, for my community, for my nation, for earth, for the entire, cosmos, or for God. That is the higher. So when I sacrifice the lower for the higher, when I give up lower for higher, that is called sacrifice. What is compromise? Compromise is I compromise the higher for my own good. ठीक है थोड़ा, it's okay, चलता है, everybody cheats. So what's wrong if I also cheat? What's wrong if I also take something I don't deserve? I don't need it, but I just take it, or so, some in the store, somebody has given me extra. I say, chalo, take it. No, when I sacrifice my principles for personal gain, that is called compromise. So sacrifice is give up your individual for the higher. Compromise is give up the higher for me. So how am I living my life? Am I living my life for the totality, or am I using the totality for my selfish needs? And we find some people, somebody may be very rich, and he says, I don't need to work. So he just sits home, doesn't do anything, and eats, and his servants bring everything. He says, I have money, I can buy And so what happens? He deteriorates. Not only he is not contributing to society, but he mentally, physically will deteriorate. So to keep yourself healthy, you have to work for others, physically healthy and mentally healthy. And that is what is Shreyas. So what is Shreyas? Shreyas is that which is absolute good for all people at all times in all situations. See, one is prayers. Kathopanishad talks about it very beautifully. We have mentioned it before also. Prayers is pleasure. So what will I get? And most people think about that. Life is what is in it for me? Looking out for number one. They have all these phrases. Why do you care about what happens to society? Hone do, as long as I am happy, as long as I am getting my due. But in next week, Bhagwan will tell us how very strong language about such a person. He said, I get what I want. I'll enjoy life. I'll do it. I don't need to give back anything. I worked, I earned for it, and it's me and mine, and that's it. And even to the extent that even their family they don't consider important, forget about community and nation. So that is what they say. But one community where everybody is working for the totality, that's what Bhagwan Yamraj says in Kathopanishad, that one who lives a life of prayers, of selfishness, pleasure, he deteriorates. But one who lives a life of Shreyas, Shreyas is not only what is good for me, but what is good for all, for the entire community. Not only now, but at all times. It's not only today, but it should be always beneficial for all people in all situations. So the absolute good is called Param Shreyas. And he says, Bhagavan says, if you want to reach that Param Shreyas, that supreme goal where the whole community prospers, you have to work with a cooperative endeavor, sync your individual differences, work with the Yagna spirit. So beautifully, Bhagwan has told us what is the benefit of Yagna spirit and what will happen if you live with that attitude and what will happen if you live with that unselfish attitude. So that's what today we have heard, that Bhagwan started with our 4 types of karmas: Nitya daily duty, Naimitya special duty, Kamya selfish duty, and Nishid forbidden duties. Our daily duties and obligatory duties must be done. Selfish duties, activity should be reduced, and definitely forbidden actions, Nishiddha, should not be done. And our whole life should become a yagna. And we see in the life of all these great masters how they sacrifice their individual. Bhagavan Krishna himself, he was the Lord, he was a king of Mathura. But he says in the Bhagavad Gita, if I don't work, then people will look at my example and say, oh, Bhagavan Krishna didn't work, why should I work? That's why I'm working. He's driving Arjuna's chariot, becoming a chauffeur. I mean, he was a king himself, but he's for his devotee, because he's devotee. So we see that Bhagwan Sri Ram and even other masters, Puja Gurudev, from after he finished his studies with Tapovan Maharaj from 1951 till he gave up his body in 1993, 43 years, he never stayed long in one place. 1 week here, 1 week there. He was traveling, giving talks, writing books, making videos and audio tapes and going to different parts of the world. Even when his heart was only 15%, he was still traveling, giving speeches, setting up centers, wherever Puja Gurudev came, center came. For example, he came to Bakersfield, only 1 hour, 1 lecture he gave at Cal State. And it is, look at his power, that we have this beautiful center, and he set up the format, how the center should run, all the. So we find that all these great masters, lived their life with the yagna spirit. When he left his body, he had nothing. Otherwise some of these spiritual leaders have huge property and millions of dollars and private plane. He had nothing, not a penny in his account. Swami Tejomayanandaji, who was the head after him, 23 years he ran the mission. He absolutely has nothing, not even a house, not even a car, nothing belongs. So we see how these great masters run their life with the yagna spirit. So that is what we should learn. And I'll end here. It's a very, very beautiful four shlokas that Bhagwan has told us how to live our life. So I'll make it open for public comment here in the audience. And Amit will also unmute so that in the Zoom also, if anybody wishes, please feel free to add to that. So anything from this group here in the hall? Any comments?
Nishida beauty, what kind of beauty that will be forbidden beauty?
Nishiddha means forbidden, yes.
Like killing somebody.
Killing, lying, cheating, stealing, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt. So all of the forbidden activities, that whatever is what one should not do, like that. Taking more than we deserve, cheating others, things like that. Those are forbidden activities. Hurting others, violence, talking bad or physically or, by speech, hurting anybody. So there are all these, which in Bhagavad Gita has mentioned. Yeah. So that is Nishiddha karma. That Bhagavan says definitely should not be done. And even Kamya karma, even selfish activities, I should reduce and do more unselfish activities and see how I can give back to society instead of taking from society.
So it goes together.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. The less I think of myself, the more I think of the world. And the more I think of myself, the less I think of others. So we are connected. See, the whole society is connected. We are not individual islands, but we are one community. That's why, in our pledge also, we says service of the country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. So we stand as one family. Our pledge starts with that we are one family, Chinmaya family, working together for the benefit of society. Any other comments? Any questions?
There are two more kinds of desire prompted karmas, right? The Sanchit karma, the one that.
Oh, no, that is different. No, that is a different. Sanchit is accumulated karmas. Prarabdha karma is what is happening in the present, and agami karma, but that is a different classification. All karmas can be divided into what I have done in the past. Those results come in the present, and what I do in the present, result will come in the future. But here, this is our daily activities. So this is different. That is in the whole karma theory, that why am I getting what? Yeah. So Sanchit, Agami, and Prarabdha. Yes. Thank you. Have any comments?
I think, Hari Om, Happy New Year.
Little loudly, Happy New Year to all. Yeah.
Hari Om, Happy New Year to all. All I can say is, I think it's beautiful what you mentioned today. And the take-home points for me were, one is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Action, except one kind of action, three different actions you mentioned. One has to be reduced, the other two we have to do.
Right.
And not doing action is not correct. Then the second thing is work is liberating when we do selflessly towards divine. And the third thing I got from here is sacrifice is essential to the harmony of the world. And then the fourth one is the mutual cooperation between humans and nature
Right.
leads to benefits, universal prosperity of the world.
Thank you. Yeah, very well summarized. Thank you. Carrie, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering when you were talking about the four kinds of karmas, the nitya, does that include like the yajna spirit sacrifices?
Yeah, the Nitya and Naimitya, the two karmas, those are my obligatory duties, should be done with a yagna spirit. Absolutely. Yes. All my
Okay, so
activities, as much as
okay.
possible, should be done with the yagna spirit, constantly remembering the Lord and constantly serving the Lord through my activity. Even when I'm cleaning, vacuuming the house, I can say, oh, why do I have to vacuum? Or Bhagwan lives in this house. I'm cleaning for Bhagwan. So all my activities can become with the yagna spirit. And then not only Bhagwan, but if I do act, like if I'm going to a mission or an organization and some work is required, I say I need to sweep the floor, do that with the idea that I'm serving society. So yeah, so every action should be done with that yagna spirit. Nitya,
So
Naimitya, both of them. Yes.
so the way that's used in this sentence, the first sentence of shloka number 8, niyatam kuru karma tvam.
Right.
So uh, I'm not sure how to I can see do action guru karma you from, but then is that a like an adjective or a
What? The Niyatam?
niyatam?
Niyatam is Nitya and Naimitya together is called Niyatam. Nitya means daily. Naimitya means special activities, as I mentioned, like birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So together, the two of them are called Niyatam. Niyatam means obligatory duties.
Oh, okay. So that actually means both of
Both
those categories.
Nitya
Oh,
and
okay, okay.
Naimitya. Obligatory duties, they should be done in the eighth one. And in the ninth one, he says activity should be done yajnartham, for the yagna spirit. Yagna spirit means I dedicate my efforts for the totality.
I had one other question on number 10. Maybe I misunderstood this, how you were explaining this, but it sounded very Dvaita. It didn't sound very Advaita. And so I just, it sounded so much like a Christian talking about biblical creation.
Yeah. See, again, it depends at which level. See, Bhagavan Sri Krishna addresses in the Bhagavad Gita at all levels. At the Dvaita level, yes, creation has to happen at the Dvaita level. There is a creator and a created. But at the Advaita level, at the highest level, there is no creation. So Bhagwan will talk about that later on, that there is no creation and that one consciousness alone is appearing as all this. But right now this is the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So even though in the second chapter he talked about Advaita, but not in that much detail, the second chapter he introduces it. So third chapter is the beginning of the teaching. So we always start with Dvaita for an individual. We have been reading Upanishads, so we think we are Advaitin, but we still have to serve God, love God, know God, and have this attitude of reverence. So to reach that absolute level needs some training. But here it is Dvaita, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Kusum, yeah.
You did very well. I'm really impressed by this. And I was thinking how to develop that yagna spirit. And Gurudev in Bhagwan Sankaracharya ji says in the Chandroli introduction of Bhagavad Gita that by decreasing our vasanas and desires, we are going to develop that. Otherwise, if we don't try at personal level, we'll never reach to that yagna spirit. And he says that our mind has to sides, the objective mind, which gets the stimuli from outside, and the subjective mind, which responds to the stimuli. And so the objective mind is called the mind, and the subjective mind is called the buddhi, the intellect. And both have to work together. They cannot be split. But as he says in general introduction, that most of us, majority of us, have a split mind, because mind wants to do something else, intellect wants to do something else.
Sorry, the time is short. So if you can please make it, because we only have 1 more minute or 2 more minutes.
Yeah, so he said that we have to be integrated mind and intellect.
Right.
Then only the vasana pressures will be decreased, and then only we can develop that yajna spirit. And that is only done by karma yoga, by egoless activities and dedicated and selfless activities. Then only vasana pressures decreases, and mind and intellect will be together, and then we'll be able to develop the yajna spirit also, because vasanas are decreased and you don't think about yourself.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hansa, we have 1 minute if you have some.
I just have something from the so that sacrifice in number 10. Actually, when you look at Purushottam beginning, he says he sacrificed himself to become many. So in other words, if he became many, there is no other. So he is the God, and we worship him. So all this multiplicity we see, or the world we see, is him.
Yes.
So that's why you say, Janta is Janardhan, or the word, Devas are same part of that. So a second thing when people go to temple, the mind which is worshipping the God there is more like, give me this, so help me here, and all that kind of thing. Instead of where we should be using it for purify our mind.
Right.
So I think we need to watch ourselves. What do you mean by going to temple and worshipping? And worshipping the world as it is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your comments. We'll see you next week. Bhagavan will continue his teachings about the yajna spirit and some more ideas about that. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari Om. Thank you.